Dystopia warning. Obviously, welcome back to Britain, a place whose residents are screaming out daily, help us, help us, help us, please help us. But nobody ever picks up the phone, you know? Nobody ever picks up the phone. Mind you, even 999's engaged nowadays, so it's a laugh, isn't it? Britain can be most neatly summarised by the words of prophet and modern-day Nostradamus, Fred Durst, because everything's fucked and everybody sucks. As I tell you what I'm about to tell you, bear in mind they've only been back 2 days from summer recess. 2 days. And please excuse me if I'm a bit slow because it's hotter than your dad's balls here in Britain currently. I'm sweating like a Tory at a teenager's birthday party. Right, let's get into the news, shall we? Hold on to your tits. I'm going in. This Raac scandal's the gift that just keeps on giving. As I've told you, the government have failed to act on crumbling schools for at least 6 years. And it's not just happening in schools, no. It's not. It's happening in hospitals too. Courts, you know, police stations. Loads of public buildings, actually. But what's going on in hospitals is going to blow this scandal wide open. Hitchinbrook Hospital has such concerns about the safety of the building that it's even moving overweight patients to the ground floor. However, let's focus on Gillian Keegan, shall we, and how the Raac scandal has exposed her corruption. You see, it's not just the fact that she took £34 million of public money to refurb her office. There are also reports that a company linked to her husband took £1 million from the school buildings fund. Her husband, Michael Keegan, is a non-executive director at a tech firm called Centerprise. Centerprise was one of 6 suppliers awarded IT contracts with the money coming from the school rebuildings programme. Now, the Department of Education have said that ministers didn't have any involvement in assigning these contracts. But is it a conflict of interest? Does the Pope shit in the woods? Yeah. Probably. Now, Michael Keegan has served on the Centerprise board since 2018, and then he later joined the cabinet as a Crown representative. What's his role? Being responsible for government relationships with suppliers. And no, it doesn't just stop there. I mean, whilst this is particularly galling, obviously, there's also been reports that Michael Keegan's firm, Centerprise, also received 17 government contracts from the Ministry of Defence between October 2019 and May 2020, which the Mail, of all places, reported were worth an estimated £24 million of taxpayers' money. What about Gillian Keegan herself? Well, a whistleblower told East Anglia Bylines that reportedly Gillian Keegan said during a visit to the Department for Education in Manchester, "We just need to keep the lid on this for 2 years and then it's somebody else's problem." Wow. She's saying the other day that she wanted praise, you know. Gillian, you are doing a fucking good job. Yeah. Of showing your arse and revealing your own corruption, love. Well done. Slow clap. Because from the way this is looking, the Keegans have actually profited to the tune of millions of public money. Kind of puts that 80 grand salary into perspective, doesn't it? And it kind of gives you a little inkling into their motivations for becoming MPs in the first place. Not only are they untouchable for their negligence and their criminal activities and insider trading and conflicts of interest, but it's also a tidy little profit, isn't it? In other news, PMQs returned today, otherwise known as everyone's least favourite niche posh rap battle. Starmer focused on Raac, schools falling apart. Sunak deflected and denied like every other Tory politician and MP has for the last 13 years. He even repeated a line from the worst Tory infographic that I think that I've ever seen. Most schools unaffected. That was the government update. Most schools unaffected. Oh, that's all right then, isn't it? Because when it comes to people's children staying alive, what they want most are lovely, vague statements. They don't need data or school names. I mean, the Tories did publish a list of school names, not the locations though. It's all right, there aren't many schools called St Michael's in Britain. Within moments, the meme was being duplicated. Labour put out most beachgoers not eaten by Big Shark. A few other people came up with their own variations, you know. Despite this phrase being widely mocked online, Sunak decided to repeat it at PMQs. And he also claimed that Labour haven't mentioned Raac before, when in fact Bridget Phillipson's mentioned it 150 times this year alone. Now, my issue with Sunak, beyond the corruption, beside the conflict of interest, besides the fact that he's treating his role as PM like a personal fund siphoning exercise for Infosys, is that he thinks that nobody has a right to be angry with him. There he stands in a tailor-made suit from the kids section of Savile Row, sitting on millions, multiple houses, lying that his party's doing a good job, pretending that the destitution that we're all facing as a country doesn't exist. Everything's fine. The Tories are doing a wonderful job in his head because he's completely unaffected by it all. In other news, remember Raab, yeah? He's branching out after his time in cabinet. Guess what he's up to? What do you think Raab would be best suited to? My first guess was contract killing, but no. He's going into after-dinner speaking. What? Does your event need an ominous, threatening American Psycho vibe? Do you want your guests to feel unnerved and distracted by a man with the vibe of a murderer? Then hire Raab. And in other news, Jenrick, the guy who wanted to paint over Mickey Mouse murals to stop immigrant children from feeling welcome and comforted. He announced today that lawyers coaching migrants to abuse the immigration system could face up to life imprisonment. Lawyers. That Pillsbury dough wanker used to be relatively moderate, and now he's selling his soul and going full fash just like the rest of them. And a year ago today, the Conservative Party made the mind-blowingly insane decision of letting Father Dougal do a funeral by making Liz Truss Prime Minister, which cost the country billions and caused millions of people to lose their homes as their mortgage prices went through the roof. When her Chancellor attended champagne lunches with financiers and hedge funders who encouraged Kwarteng to keep going with the disastrous decision because it was causing them to cash in. Johnson, Truss, the Omni scandals. It's causing Britain to have scandal fatigue. The government's succeeded in normalising corruption to the extent that we all just expect it now. We might expect it now, but it's vitally important that we don't accept it. Anyway, I'm off to commemorate Liz Truss Day by kicking the shit out of a lettuce.